Righto, so we're looking at a FT101ZD, and as you can see, it's got a big hole in it. It's we prefer them this way. It's better for airflow, you know, for the final stage, etc., for the valves, and they work much better. But on a serious note, we've had to pull out the display board that sits on top, of course, and basically where they go faulty. I'm just going to show you another VFO here. This board here. And there's a few other issues they have, so don't think I'm saying this is limited to, but often you end up having to pull out a lot of this gunk. Now, I got a little bit lucky in the fact that we've got so much from this here, which I reckon's come out of a 980 or something similar. Anyway, this VFO is part of the Yaesu stock. It's brand new, and it's part of the Bale Yaesu stock that a lot of you have seen in our previous videos. And fortunately, they actually use a duplicate board in here, and you can actually see very simply as you look on the top of it, the C815 and 807, I think, is it? Oh, yep, 807. When you go on the top here, and I've got a lot of boards to go through, so I just look for an indicator that gets me close to think, hang on, you know, are we talking about the same board? So we'll have a look and, you know, check the voltage tap-offs, etc. But in this case, yes, Yaesu used, and as you can see, it's a very different VFO in the way the cog works on the side there. Here it's a much more smaller system the way they do it. It doesn't quite come out so wide, where see how that sits out on the side there. You've got nothing coming out on the side here. So the mechanicals of this VFO are actually quite different to the one we've taken this off, but the board is the same. So sometimes when you're restoring radios, time becomes the issue. You could spend a few hours mucking around with this and you know, trying to work out which tantalums give you trouble and what caps, you know, it just look very possible, and not as I said, problems with the FT101ZD VFO are not limited to that top board. There are other issues that they have, and there's about 3 or 4 other caps that are outside of the VFO that also can give you some trouble. Normally, you'll notice that, you know, they're drifting down, and there's a few things that you can do to sort that. And once again, a lot of it is about playing with capacitance values, you know, 9 puff, 12 puff caps, etc., and trying to get it right. So that, you know, can be a little bit of a pain, but initially, all we want to do is get this VFO working. This VFO was very much giving us some very strange readings, and that's coming off this thing here. It's just throw away. But so anyway, let's put it all back together, and let's just see if it at least runs up and down in frequency and does what it should do. It still may drift a bit. We'll find out because there are some other boards down the side here and here that will need to be looked at. But we may get lucky and, you know, at least makes the VFO functional. So we'll be back to you soon, and we'll just put some of this back together. We won't put it all back together completely, just in case it all doesn't work. But we'll certainly get it to a stage that we can at least show whether or not we've got a working VFO on this FT101ZD. Okay, so we are back to this FT101ZD again, and it's been a little bit of a break because I've had to manufacture a few fixes for this VFO. It's been in and out a few times. I've just got the digital readout sitting out there, but here's the good news. Nothing bolted in, nothing earthed.
I think her name's Tanya, so hello to you in case you copy.
Look at that.
No, you've got it.
Reasonably solid as well, as far as its stability. It was dropping down about 300 to 500 hertz very fast before, but I also, as I would spin this VFO, I would get suddenly 723 without, you know, it was just all over the place, and the ratio was definitely wrong. So that's nice. So it just shows sometimes when you're fixing units, you know, give us a ring as far as see what we've got in spare parts as far as boards. Trust me, you didn't want to have to ungummy this whole thing up and sort it out. And whilst we'll keep this as a spare, you know, and we'll certainly have a bit of a look at, you know, whether or not we can repurpose it at some stage. for now, this is a nice, still getting a bit of drift there. It's only just warming up. I'm just having a bit of a look here. But trust me, what it was doing before, by now it would be at 714, 39, 38, you know, etc. So, and have a look at that. And that's not even earthed yet. Everything's just sort of sitting there, and I don't want to look clumsy, but see that? That is me just letting it all sit in there. And this is what you've got to do when you're fixing stuff for this at times. Let me just turn that volume down. When you're fixing some of this old gear at times, you can spend a lot of time putting it back together only to find out that you've still got a problem with this VFO, as we did. So the reason we kind of, as you'll see in here, VFO not bolted in, display not bolted in. Is this good practices? Yes. I'll tell you why. Because the time you're going to spend putting it all back together to find out that, like we did, that we still had a problem on the internal board that was causing us an issue. And for us, we had to link a diode out that was giving us some trouble. Now, this must have been a mod they did on the 980s, but it certainly doesn't suit the FT101ZD. So always be, you know, sort of aware that when you're chopping and changing parts, there still may be minor differences. They're going to cause you a headache. And for me, it was about a 10-minute headache where I just sat there thinking, oh, this just can't be bloody right, you know. Sort of, but anyway, that's how it works. You know, and by the way, experience is everything. And with this sort of stuff, you know, every time you have a play with it, you'll learn a bit more. You know, you'll just sort of cotton on to. But that's solid. You know, we've seen 100 hertz move, and that could be, you know, really just a lot to do with where I might have left it at right up the top of that 0.0 to 0.1. But you know, just looking at it at the moment, to have a working VFO again on this, and we'll. I've got way too many FT101ZDs. I actually pulled this out for a mate of mine because I thought it might be the radio for him. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still maybe the radio for him, but you know, we've been able to clean up. Now, I mean, there's a lot of things about this radio. Look how clean it is, apart from the dirt on the knobs at the moment. It's been sitting around for a while, but you know, everything is extremely clean. So this is sort of what we're looking for. You know, like collectors, we love this sort of stuff. Cases that are, you know, nice and clean, etc., etc. You know, which no rust marks, etc., coming off them. So generally, don't be scared if someone says to you, "I've got an FT101ZD, but I had to do a few things to it." That's probably a positive, not a negative. And I mean that from the point of view that, look, welcome to owning older gear. You know. And actually, we've got a bit of a float going on that VFO right now that we're going to have a little look at. See how it just floated by about 5? It's adjusting. And I can see that's just moving a bit at the moment. Yeah. And what we'll have to do is go back in there and check those oscillators now and make sure everything is actually set up because we've taken another board. Let's put it back together, though, and have a bit of a look. And the reason for that, we're not earthed anywhere. Look, you know, and look at that, it's back stable again. Yeah, I think I want to earth some things and see how she looks. Now, this video may end here. We'll see. I'll just see how I go. I haven't turned my phone off at the moment, so that it may knock out my video. So we'll see. But look, if it does end here, you get the general idea of, you know, trying to repurpose parts and trying to get into these things. It's not hard. Look, you know, obviously watch out for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volts back here. You know, don't run your fingers anywhere that you don't know what the volts are. If in doubt, you know, get your voltmeter out and have a look at what you're playing with, because some of this is pretty dangerous. All right, now if you don't hear back from me, you'll know this video ended because it all went bad. But no, this will go back together fine. Actually, I'm just looking at that, and that's looking. I would say at the moment we've just got a bit of an earth issue that is going to be causing that. So we'll get it all back together, and I'll try and give you a shot of it. We'll see how we go. All right, just a little tricks for new players. Just be a bit careful. Don't forget to put this earth on the side here. We actually had it sitting off, and amazing the difference it makes earthing this whole shield and casing. So just a little side note there. I wasn't sure we were going to get to this part of the video, but we got there. Now we'll put it all back together, and we'll just give you a quick look at just... but yeah, there's an earth there, and there's another one just on the back of the VFO that goes there. That comes down to this screw right down in there. All right, so basically those screws, those tags are absolutely essential. So didn't actually think they'd make quite as much difference to what they do, so very important. Okay, and your two VFO lights, you've got two that go in. It doesn't really, there's enough room to bring them in on the side. Now, we've got one fitted just in here that you can see. Now, that needs to be pushed through a bit more. The other one over here needs to go into this hole here. So we use a pair of tweezers, use it right on the end, just where the connection is. Obviously, don't get too close to the glass, otherwise you'll just be replacing it. But they pop in fairly easy, a little bit touchy, but you'll get them in. Okay, so when it's all back together again, it should look a little bit like this here, paying note to the fact that you've definitely got your grounds down on the back of the VFO, variable frequency oscillator down here, and you've got your other ground connected over here, because the stability of this unit will have a lot to do with it. Make sure your rear screws are back into that unit as well. It all does make a difference to how stable this unit will be. All right, so now when you've got that done and you've got your front sections all looking like this, just a matter of now to put the counter unit back in. The counter unit pretty much sits on this whole screw here that does the trick, and basically that keeps you all in place. Not a lot holds it, actually. It's pretty good the way it is. But anyway, that there is hopefully we're going to get a really good result out of this. So we'll see in a few minutes. Well, in your case, a few seconds. When you're putting a counter unit back in, just another thing too, just take your carrier oscillator wire out of here. What I do is I do a mud map, you know. Oh, hang on, bring that over there. Grey, yellow, red. Now the idea there is when we're detached, grey, yellow, red. Sometimes we just photograph it, but in this case we've just made a quick notation. But as you can see, that just fits into place there. Your counter unit goes there. This connector goes back on. And in all seriousness, that should work in a second. So we've gone from a VFO that doesn't work, and you know, even when it did a little bit, it was floating down quite a few kilohertz at a time. But it is now functioning how it should, and all we've got left to do is to have a little look at our dial here and say, well, that doesn't make sense, does it? So let's put it up to about 7180. So our dial starts to agree. And the good thing about the 101ZD, as distinct from the earlier model 101s, very easy to. They thought of putting this little wheel here that if you did get out of sorts with your kilohertz reading on the analog, you could just quickly fix it up. Bit of FT8 coming through there. All right, so this has been probably, if we were going to call this video anything, it's probably the cheats way to fix a VFO on an FT101ZD. But let me tell you, please contact me. You know, if you're chasing spares, if we can save you some time, we have a lot of Yaesu spares, and trust me, you know, this repair has taken probably an hour in what would have taken several hours, all because of having one of these spare. Nice to be able to have that sitting over there. And you know what, you've always got the option of still repairing this up, and we've still got the old VFO, we've still got all the bits. We know what the fault is, we know that it's got caps in there that are giving trouble. So, you know, good to be able to highlight that and just say, right, you know, if we really get stuck at some later stage, but this has got a brand new VFO board in it, and here's someone in there. Oops, wrong one. ZL4 Radio Mike Fox, coming off a little vertical antenna on the side of the barn here. And as you've probably realised, I'm not in the normal repair shack. I'm actually out in the barn, and been getting on top of a few things out here. Just got a lot more space out here for the bigger radios. You know, I can sort of spread things out a bit, so it makes life a bit easier. We're going to be setting up 2 workshops for, you know, just for some of the hobby stuff I do, you know, it's just a matter of I can leave some stuff running on one bench, you know, whether it's soak testing or whether I just didn't fix it. By the way, have a look at that 7160. We've only fired that up for the last few minutes, and it's just sitting there beautifully. So how to fix? Good signal.
There's a contest, I'll be bothering, and we might have other things happening in the evenings as well. Seriously, bye-bye.
No, that's good. No, that's good. And stable, which is good. And that's what we want to see. And obviously, we don't want to see you touch it and it's suddenly 7.3 or 7.4 like it was doing. It was just not counting correctly at all. Actually, he's about the only signal on there, really. The ZL station at the moment that's of any great consequence, but I am using a very, very small vertical diamond CP725. Have a look one up, actually. The CP725 is a very, very basic antenna, and for out here in the workshop, actually I'll show you it, why not? Right, see that thing the bird's sitting on there? Well, that is just there's the roof there at about 2.5 metres, and that's probably, oh, the bird's gone. But that's the CP725. Now, you know, there's a shed right next to it. It's not even over the height of the shed. And up there at 85 feet is a 2-element 40 metre, which obviously does a little bit better at times. But this has been surprising today. I've done a few tests on this and gone, hey, not bad. Well, we've gone for a trip outside and we've come back in and look at that. It's still sitting on 7160.0. Now, I was thinking it was going to embarrass me. Now, you won't know whether I cheated, I suppose, but trust me, I didn't. I just walked in and sat down and thought, look at that. So, stability-wise, I'm not sure we've got to go chasing any more caps on this. This is really looking very good. So let's hope that that's the case. He's working a few guys in the US and over in Europe. He's doing well. All right, well, that's the quick fix. Not really, but certainly the quicker fix to a Yaesu FT101ZD 0 to 30 meg transceiver. This one, I think, is going to go to a chap who's been extremely patient with me, I must admit. He's had some money sitting in his wallet for so long, and I have promised him I'd get onto something. So today has been a day I've committed to making sure that we've got something very, very clean and very nice for him. But if it's not his liking, I'm sure this one will come up on one of the for sale things. We'll worry about that later. The thing we're not really concerned about is the sales side of it anymore. Sure, we need to get rid of the double ups, but that's not urgent. If someone has a need, fantastic. If not, quite happy to hang on to some of this stuff. To be honest, I'm becoming a born-again hoarder. 73s from VK3 Charlie Mike, Tangam Malenga, Northeast Victoria, Australia. Thanks very much for all the overseas subscribers and the comments, and you guys overseas have really contributed a lot lately, and a lot of you guys are emailing me just, you know, different help files and bits and pieces, and you know what, if I could just say this before I go, that's what makes this channel a bit of fun, is because you contribute to it, and then we try and bring, you know, what you've taught us to the forefront, and because believe me, this is this is not always something that I've engineered myself. There's often a lot of snippets of, you know, a lot of people's intelligence that goes into doing what we do. Geez, I'm really in love with how clean this thing is. I'm not sure I do want to sell this one. It's very nice. All right, enough raving on. 73 is all. VK3 Charlie Mike. Cheers.